Bob, my first question is, while this interview is running Monday, the interview is running Monday, we're doing the interview on Friday, and last night the hospital board voted to select HCA as the bidder for Citrus Memorial. Tell us about that. Why is that your choice?
Well, I think there's several things, and why our board, the hospital board, selected HCA, and why I personally selected them. As we first looked at all the bids, and as we went through the process, HCA was definitely one of the most constant as to what they were proposing. And at the same time, they were one of the leaders as far as the points of the board, of the bid, what they wanted to give, the hospital. But I think what really boiled down to is that when we started evaluating what each bidder had to present, although HCA and HMA were very close, and I think all the hospitals, all three of them, Tampa General Hospital, HCA as a company, and HMA have a lot to offer, a lot to bring. But in the last presentation, HMA, which almost got my vote, their presentation was to combine the two hospitals. To bring the employees together so they can work in either place.
You talk about Seven Rivers and
Correct.
Okay.
And so I thought, hey, this is a great idea. As a CEO of a hospital, as a owner of a business, this makes good business sense. And I thought, this may be the way to go. But after giving it some thought, I thought, well, gee, we're removing the opportunity for choice and competition by having both hospitals under the control of one company. If the physicians weren't happy with one, they can go to the other. If the employees weren't happy with one, they can go to the other if it was the HCA awarded the bid. But with HMA, they don't have that choice. And most importantly, the people that are depending upon the hospital, if they don't have the confidence in one, then they have to leave the community. They'd have to go to, Tampa or to Ocala, Brooksville, or something like that. And the whole thing is we're trying to keep, the quality of care up here in this community, and we want to try to keep the people from leaving this community and seeking care. So it made sense to encourage competition. And so with the bids being what they were, it was a very lucrative opportunity, something that it would be very beneficial in years to come. The quality of care, we're confident, will definitely go up. I think we've just provided the confidence for people to stay here, and at the same time, we have that competitive factor where it'll keep raising, the care and the commitment that they're trying to make.
Well, Tampa General, they had their bid come in, then revised, and then they've been back to your board a couple times. They didn't seem to get any confidence from your board whatsoever.
Well, number one, it was a flat-out affiliation, and they weren't bringing the money to the table. And there's a lot of arguments you can make by saying it made sense. I think the employees felt even it provided more job security, when in fact it don't. One of the things I didn't say last night that is occurring nationwide is even the nonprofits are feeling pains today. Cleveland Clinic just announced that they have to cut their budgets significantly. They're going to be cutting their administrative budget by 7%. They're going to be cutting their clinical budget by approximately, I think, 4%. And they're going to be cutting hundreds of thousands of dollars out of their employee budgets. So with the type of layoffs or early retirements that they're requiring and the challenges that they're facing, all of them in Tampa General are going to be facing those same situations.
But the employees and the hospital structure here certainly seem to be favoring Tampa General. Why do you think that is?
I think it's fear. If I would, I've been in situations where, company I was working for, I used to see these suits walking in and out of the building, and the fear of the unknown. And someone may have some personal beliefs and they start sharing it and the wrong information gets out and fear sets in. A lot of employees thought, well, gee, we're going to lose our job. They're going to be outsourced. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. No matter who owns the organization, who runs the organization, you got to run it in such a way that you can continue providing quality service. And right now, for example, I was talking to someone from the housekeeping department last night, and they were expressed concerns that they could be outsourced. But at the same time, as I've noticed, so did HCA commented to that individual how clean this hospital was and the good job that they were doing. And that was recognized, and that, you know, outsourcing the housekeeping department, I mean, you know, is something that they would be looking at, you know, especially right away.
Of course, HCA brought in a lot of money. Now, I know that your transaction consultant used two different ways to
Right.
quantify that, but the bottom line, the net result is over $90 million estimated to the community. I mean, how much of an impact is that on you?
Well, you know, obviously the fact that we are eliminating the debt for our future children, you know, and that's not going to be sitting over their heads. The fact that the employees are going to, you know, their pension funds are being protected. Those are big loads off of their shoulders they don't have to worry about. And then now that $90 million can be utilized, you know, for the continuation of the mission, you know, charity care and the other necessary opportunities that will be facing us in the future.
But you know, that's a really big unknown though. I mean, one of the hospital employees at a previous meeting stood up and said, you should even count that money. Don't even just discount it. He says that in other communities where they've had these huge payoffs, that money's been squandered in a number of years. Do you have any knowledge of any of that stuff?
Well, I don't know. I don't have any knowledge where it's just been squandered. Can it be misused? Yes. And that's why it's very important to have individuals watching over, you know, how it's being spent. Right now, the 155.40 Florida statute requires that when the hospital is sold, the money turns over to the county commission. A lot of people are concerned about that money going to the county commission. And, you know, one of my positions is, and this is my personal position, is the county commission is elected by the people. It's their money. And if it's not being appropriately used for the purposes of taking care of individuals in this community for health care, then, you know, we have the opportunity of voting those individuals out. And at the same time, I'm in the process, and I started that process last night, of recommending a board that would be an advisory board, not dictating where it goes, but advising how it, you know, some ideas on how it, you know, can be spent for the betterment of this community, and to make sure that it's being properly spent. There's transparency and accountability. And, you know, I've recommended some individuals. We'll be discussing that in the meeting on the 30th, and at the same time, the attorneys are currently looking at the 155.40 to see what is the difference between a lease and a sale, and how, you know, the funds and the proceeds of this transaction, how those funds could be to the betterment of this community.
You mentioned fear earlier about job security. There is definitely a fear or a concern in the community that there's some political chicanery going on with the top potential getting that kind of money in the community. I mean, that's a number that you can't even wrap your hand around.
Well, there's a lot of individuals that have been in this community for a long time, and a lot of them believe in the hospital's mission, and we all should believe in the hospital mission. But they have sweat and long-term commitment, and they express concerns that, you know, maybe, you know, it should go this way or that way, and sometimes there are political influences. And the political influence could be more than just from politicians, it could be different general leaders in the community. But, you know, my personal position is you've got to just, you know, listen to those things, evaluate them, but then make a decision based on fact, not on influences. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, I like to think the two boards, as we come together and continue this process, we're going to listen but we're gonna do what's really at the end in the best interest.
And Monday's pretty much your deadline to make a call, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
Monday's pretty much your deadline to make a
Yes,
decision?
otherwise there'll be problems with the bonds, you know, but I believe we will resolve it by Monday. I believe there's every reason for me to believe that the foundation will make their selection, and hopefully before that night's over, we'll have one bidder between Tampa General and HCA, because they still have the option between Tampa General and HCA.
Well, they still have that option, but you two have to choose
Correct.
the same bidder.
Correct.
With the hospital board voting Thursday night for HCA, the foundation being silent. First of all, what did you think about that? I understand they didn't.
I was
perform, and
disappointed.
I get that.
I was very disappointed that they were silent, but I understand that the two members that did not show up, one had a pre-planned vacation that they had paid for a long time, you know, in advance, and the other was dealing with a very sick family member. So I understand that.
But wouldn't you like to? I mean, you're all in the round. I get that. I mean, you're not going to want them to make a decision without Joe Brandon there, whose father
Right.
founded the hospital.
Right.
But shouldn't they have not participated in the conversation?
I would think they would have. I mean, everybody's a little different. I have a reputation of speaking up, and I would probably have spoken up regardless. But they were in such a situation where they felt it was in the best interest of because the chairman and Mr. Brandon not being there, that it was important to hear their views at the same time. So I respect that decision.
Although by them doing that, one of two things happens: either they're backed into a corner to force to choose HCA
Correct.
at Monday night, or they throw the whole thing through a tailspin by choosing Tampa General or HMA.
Well, that is correct, but there's another thing too I think occurred, and that is they heard a lot of arguments last night. They heard from the people sitting in the audience expressing their views, their dissatisfaction of the past, their expectations of the board for the future. Now they have an opportunity to digest that information. Rather than just reacting and maybe coming in with a preconceived idea that they wanted to achieve, now they have to think about what really is in the best interest of the citizens. So I think, in a sense, it could be a good thing.
You know, a lot of folks, things I've read in the paper anyway, sound off in letters to the editor, that kind of stuff. The one reason they like HCA is, you know, they're a big company. They get done quality work. No one's ever said HCA is going to ruin the hospital, but they are a total break. Mm-hmm. They present a total break of the past from Citrus Memorial Hospital, especially the last 4 years. There's some psychological effect in that. Do you see there's some? Do you understand why people would?
Well, of
think
course.
that?
As a matter of fact, I can only speak for myself. I totally agree. That's one of the reasons that I probably favor a sell over the lease, because I really do believe there needs to be a break. I think there's been some, you know, excellent individuals, very knowledgeable, very committed, that sat on both boards with all the right intentions. But I think, you know, for whatever reason, things got in the way, and we spent, you know, too much money on legal fees, too much time debating, and not enough time doing. And I think the citizens of this county expect more, and they want to change. So I concur with that, and I support somebody else overseeing the future.
Well, what kind of a community partner do you think HCA would be?
I think they're going to be an excellent community partner based on my knowledge of them in the industry. Actually, you know, been in several of their hospitals over the last, 40 years at one time or another. And, you know, knowing their experience, knowing their leadership, and their commitment to the community. Last night, it was very interesting. Rather than just walking out the door, I saw where some of the members of the HCA team took the time to talk to some of the individuals who expressed concerns during the meeting, to reassure them, you know, of their commitment, you know, to the mission and to individuals personally.
I've heard the concern about losing local control, but then I've also heard from people in the community saying that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right. And that is true, and I don't think it is a a bad thing because, and I don't think there's no such thing as losing local control. Because at the end of the day, I don't care who sits in that boardroom, and I've been in many boardrooms over the years myself, the people that really have the control are the people out there in the community wanting to use the facility. We have local control here today, but where do some of these individuals go? They go to other hospitals outside the community because they are in control. So yeah, you have the argument of local control, but the real control belongs to the citizens of the community, regardless who sits in the boardroom.
And if HCA comes in, what's the first thing you'd like to see them do?
Well, the first thing I think they need to do is listen. They need to listen and evaluate. They need to listen to the employees. They need to see what is going on. They need to get their input on why things work or why they don't work. They need to look at the emergency room. They know there's situations down there and they already are thinking about what they can do down there. So I think that's one of the first things they need to do. And then they need to, they already have it. I asked them from the beginning, how do they go about the process? That was one of the things that Tampa General doesn't have the experience on, is coming in and immediately figuring out what they have to do to go forward. ACA, HMA, they have that experience, and ACA, talk very intelligently where I was very comfortable. They'll come in here with a good plan and start moving in the right direction.
Excellent. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate your time today.
And thank you for the opportunity. And at the same time, I really appreciate the citizens and employees of this county, being patient.
Look forward to seeing what happens from here on out.
Likewise. Thanks a lot.